It's been my life, and it's been an incredible one to share with everyone.
It'll be very sad to say goodbye. It's been really special.
She didn't scream. She didn't run. She didn't even try to save him. Claire Fraser, the woman who had crossed centuries, survived wars, and cheated death more times than any person ever should, just stopped and laid down next to him, right there on the battlefield, next to his body, and she refused to move, for hours, for days. And what happened because of that one decision, that one act of refusing to let go, set off a chain of events so profound, so heartbreaking, and so beautifully devastating that it didn't just end the show. It rewrote everything that came before it. Every moment, every sacrifice, every time they found their way back to each other. It all led to this. And if you think you already understand what happened in Outlander's final ever scene, I promise you, you don't. Not yet. 12 years. That's how long Outlander ran. 12 years of watching Jamie and Claire fight for each other across time, across oceans, across history itself. And after all of that, after every battle, every separation, every moment where it felt like the universe was conspiring to keep them apart, it all came down to one single gunshot, one pull of a trigger. And just like that, Jamie Fraser was on the ground, bleeding out, with a bullet lodged in his heart. To understand just how devastating this moment truly was, you have to go back to the beginning of the season, because Jamie knew. He had known for a long time that the Battle of Kings Mountain was going to be the place where he died. Frank's book had told him so. The history books had told him so. And anyone who knows Jamie Fraser knows that he is not a man who runs from fate. He is a man who walks toward it with his head held high and his family in his heart. So when the battle began, Jamie didn't just fight. He said goodbye. He said goodbye to everyone he loved. He made peace with the people around him. He told Claire exactly what he needed her to hear, and he walked into that battle fully prepared to never walk out of it. And for a brief, beautiful, cruel moment, it looked like history might be wrong. Ferguson was defeated. The battle was turning. Jamie had survived. Claire had survived. And in that split second where they both thought the worst was behind them, there was this overwhelming wave of relief that hit you as a viewer like a wall. You felt it. You exhaled. You thought, maybe this time, just this once, they actually get to keep each other. But Outlander has never been that kind of show. And it wasn't about to start being that kind of show in its final ever episode. When Jamie went to receive Ferguson's surrender, Ferguson pulled out a pistol, and he fired it directly into Jamie's chest, into his heart. And that was it. The moment the entire season had been building toward had arrived, and it arrived fast, and it arrived without mercy. 1 second Jamie was standing, the next he was on the ground, and Claire, who had spent the entire episode trying to hold herself together, came apart completely. She ran to him. She dropped to her knees beside him, and she held him as he began to die. Now here is where the story takes a turn that most people didn't fully understand when they first watched it, because what Claire did next, or rather, what she refused to do, is the single most important decision in the entire finale. She refused to leave his body. She refused to let a priest come and perform last rites. She refused to have him buried. And on the surface, you might watch that and think it was grief. Pure, raw, overwhelming grief from a woman who had just watched the love of her life take his last breath in her arms. And yes, it was that. But it was also something far more significant than that. In many spiritual and historical traditions, the soul of a person who has not been properly buried, who has not received the rites that allow them to pass on, exists in a state between the living world and whatever comes after it. They are not gone, but they are not truly present either. They are caught, suspended, and that is exactly the state that Jamie Fraser entered when Claire refused to release him. By staying beside him, by refusing to let the world process his death the way the world processes all deaths, Claire essentially held Jamie in a space between life and what comes after it. She trapped him, in the most loving way possible, somewhere between here and gone. and what that meant for the rest of the episode, and what it revealed about their entire story, is something that will genuinely take your breath away, because while Claire lay there beside him, refusing to move, refusing to let go, something extraordinary began to happen. We started seeing flashes, moments, fragments of time from across their entire journey together. Jamie and Claire in the Highlands. Jamie and Claire separated by centuries and finding their way back. Every look, every touch, every sacrifice, every reunion. And it wasn't just a montage thrown together to make you emotional. Although it absolutely made you emotional, it was the show telling you something. It was the show reminding you that this was always, from the very first episode to the very last, a love story. Not an adventure story with romance in it. Not a historical drama with a couple at the center. A love story, full stop. The greatest love story the show had ever told. And it was being told one final time, through Jamie's eyes, as he hovered somewhere between this world and the next. But here's the question that the first half of this episode leaves hanging in the air, like smoke after a gunshot. If Jamie was gone, truly gone, then who exactly was it that Claire saw standing there, watching her in the moments that followed? Because she wasn't alone on that battlefield, and the figure she saw wasn't something she imagined. It was real, it was deliberate, and what it means about the nature of time, about the nature of their connection, and about what Jamie Fraser was actually doing in the hours and days after that bullet hit him, is something that will completely change how you understand not just this ending, but the entire show. So who was standing there? And why did he vanish the second someone else looked his way? You said, section to section 29 to 27. Claude responded, a ghost. That is the only word for what Jamie Fraser became the moment Claire refused to release him. Not gone, not at rest, not at peace in whatever comes after this life. A ghost, wandering, watching, present in a way that the living could not fully see or touch or hold on to. And here's the thing about Jamie being a ghost that makes this so much more layered than it first appears. He had actually talked about this. Earlier in the very same episode, Jamie had said, almost casually, almost with a smile, that being a ghost might actually be quite fun, that he'd like to check in on people from time to time, that he'd like to still be around, even if around meant something different than it used to. And at the time, it felt like something a man says when he is trying to make peace with his own death, a way of softening the blow, a way of telling Claire that even if he was gone, he wouldn't truly be gone. But it wasn't just comfort. It wasn't just words. It was foreshadowing for exactly what was about to happen. Because Jamie didn't just check in on people from time to time. He moved through time entirely. He wandered through it the way you wander through rooms in a house you know by heart. Freely, quietly, without anyone knowing he was there. And the reason he was able to do this, the reason time bent itself around him the way it did, is because of where Claire had left him. Purgatory doesn't work the way a clock works. It doesn't move forward and stay there. It shifts, it folds. It allows a person caught within it to exist across multiple points in time simultaneously. And Jamie, suspended in that in-between space, because of Claire's refusal to let him go, had access to all of it. This is where the episode does something genuinely remarkable. Something that reframes the entire mythology of the show in its final hour. Because we see Jamie appear at Crane Dun, not the Crane Dun that Claire visited when she was already in love with him, already bound to him, already a woman whose life had been completely reshaped by knowing him. We see Jamie at Crane Dun before any of that, before Claire ever went through the stones, before their story had even begun. And he is standing there, in that field, in that ancient sacred place, and he is scattering flowers. The pretty blue flowers that Claire had mentioned earlier in the episode. The ones she had described finding there and loving. The ones that had always felt like a small, beautiful detail in the larger tapestry of the show. Except they weren't a small detail at all. They were everything. Think about what this means for a moment. Really sit with it. Those flowers were the reason Claire lingered at Crane Dun. They were part of what drew her to that place. What made her stop. What put her in the exact position to hear the stones and feel pulled toward them. And the person who put those flowers there was Jamie, a Jamie who was already dead. A Jamie who was existing as a ghost in purgatory, moving through time without a fixed point, wandering through the centuries that he and Claire had spent fighting for each other. He went back to the very beginning, back to before she knew him, back to the moment that started everything. And he made sure it happened. He made sure she came through, because without those flowers, without that small and seemingly insignificant detail, Claire might never have gone through the stones at all. Their entire love story might never have existed.